Welcome to the Hollow Points Podcast. We are glad you decided to tune into another episode where we provide an aggressively therapeutic outlet on topics that many think about but are afraid to speak on. We actually made it to season 4. This should be our best work yet, since we are finally off probation.
Man, this week I want to talk about eating from the tree of fairy tales. So, we first of all, tales were actually stories of morality. Then we got soft as parents, and later on they became fairy tales. So instead of having teaching the kids how to survive in this world, we start making up stuff. So one day you're gonna meet a prince instead of telling them not to go into the forest like Little Red Riding Hood. One day you're gonna meet a prince. This prince is gonna save you, take care of you, let you retire at an early age. Uh, you don't have to work, and he's gonna take care of everything you need. You can wear whatever you want in public and have your butt cheeks out, and he'll still defend and protect you. Whatever, this dude who was gonna give you everything you want when you after you met him, and you was gonna have this wonderful life was supposed to come to you one day, and that was told to you every night before you went to bed. Anita Baker had a song called Fairy Tales,
There it
and one
is.
day she realized that this prince wasn't coming to save her. This dude left her standing alone. It was a lot of stuff. One of my favorite songs. But
Yeah. She
what
said, in
every
fact, reality came into view. No
Mhm.
longer living life in paradise. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, you must like the song too. So, what age do you think she was when she realized this, or what age should you realize?
Is that to me?
Yeah, I'm gonna kick it over to you.
So I one thing I will say is, and I see how you specifically blame Disney for creating this image of damsels in distress and being saved and whisked away to love. And I can tell you in my experience, I don't know a lot of dudes, like real dudes, that would call it fairy tale love or say it's fairy tale, because that to me has a feminine connotation. And so any idea of everything's supposed to work out the way that I want, whether I built into it or invested in it or not, to me is a very womanly thing to think and feel. I think that men um, tend to go into any engagement with expectations of being appreciated, being supported, being nurtured and encouraged, because women are mothers and mothers are nurturers. And so you go into these things hoping to have some resemblance of your aunties, your grandma, your mom in a woman that you can build something with. And that may be cast as a fairy tale, but I think it's just reasonable considering how relationships dynamics have worked over the centuries. And so I wouldn't say all of this, me showing up and I wake up like this and I'm entitled to my nails and my hair and my whatever, and he's supposed to do for me and take me and show me and expose me. I don't think that that's something that men feel like women should do. In fact, I would tell you this openly. I don't know a lot of expectations men have of women, considering how many married women are out of shape. So it couldn't have been that he had expectations of you to keep it tight when you deliberately disobeyed him, like the Lion King daddy. So, in that idea, I believe that fairy tales are specifically female based and they have no place in modern relationships. That's my take on it.
Tracy, what do you have to say to this? I mean, in the fairy tale, Cinderella never said she was gonna stay in shape, did she?
She sure didn't. And a lot of times, I think the men are not in shape, but they want, a woman that's in shape, put together, a trophy wife on their arm. When you look at them, their stomachs hanging, stuff ain't together, he's knocking, barely holding on. But I digress. When I think about fairy tales, though,
Dare you? How dare you?
I don't think for women that I don't think that's a Disney thing. I think in today's society, I think when people think about relationships, if you were to equate it to a fairy tale, it's what they see on social media. I think that's what they've been thinking. Somebody they see women being um like having a man who's present, because you'll be like, this is a real man. Just looking at the captions.
Yes.
Um,
Did you say a
huh?
man present?
Yes.
Yes. Men being present is this is a real father, this is a real man. He pays the bills. There was that trend going around where, women were like, I'm gonna have to pay the mortgage this month, and then their significant others was like, I pay the mortgage all the time. So then it kind of sets the tone for those who don't have that to start thinking like, well, that's what I need. That's the type of life I want to have. This is what I want. It's a highlight reel. Nobody ever really exposes the good, the bad, and ugly of their relationships. Or when you see that, um on social media or something and things have gone to hell and high water, and people are like, oh, I knew this wasn't right, I knew this wasn't this or the other. I think they look at other people's relationship and create a fairy tale in their own mind at times. But I also think that's women and men. I don't think it's just women. I think men also approach women that way. Well, I could do this, I could present this way, and you'll fall for it in a way. I don't That's my take on it.
Let me just say, I want to dispel something that Tracy inappropriately miseducated the audience on. King Charles is the skinniest king in the history of the monarchy. Okay, so when you say women don't want they Prince Charmings or their kings to be out of shape, Louis XV, Philip II, all of these cats was fat. All of them was fat and they was kings. That's number one. Number two, being present means that you have limited work hours and you can't take care of all these bills on a limited work hour schedule. So you're asking for something that's physically difficult, if not impossible, for a man to be on social media. And I know you told me on social media, but you're saying you wanted him to be present, but you also wanted him to provide. And presence and provision don't hardly ever, even with superstars, they're shooting movies, they're on tour, basketball players are on the court, football players are on the field, they're working out. No man that provides at a high level is present. Can we at least agree to that?
I can say that, but I personally don't want that because I got a man. Okay, so but what I'm saying is like I
And he
think
work all the time.
he does,
That nigga,
but
that
this
nigga ain't no good because he's not present.
you better get off my man now.
Okay.
But what I'm
Yeah,
saying is,
so,
I guess, well, I do get what you're saying about present and paying bills and having to take care of things. But
Yeah.
I think people now in today's world create fairy tales of relationships because they only see the highs of what they see of what's highlighted on social media or the only information that they're given at the time. They don't see, for example, athletes or people who are at high status. They don't hear about the wives feeling as though they are having to take on the bulk of it or handle everything because they're always away. They're providing, and maybe they're being super faithful through that and being a good spouse as they could be from a distance. But people don't always talk about the hard parts that come with it. And so when people look at relationships, they only want all the high parts. They don't even consider the sacrifices, the conversations, the low parts, the patience. They don't think about that. And I think in that sense, it is a fairy tale, but I don't think it's just for women. I think it's for men and women.
So this is where I
what
say you're
what
wrong.
man do you
Go ahead.
know does this?
That's what I
What
was gonna
man do
say. That's
yeah,
exactly what
what
I
Well,
was.
man
I don't talk to a lot of people, but from what I can see on how men sometimes present themselves, from what I have seen on news outlets to media, things like that, they kind of sell themselves as I am the fairy tale. I can do this for you.
they
I can
are?
do this for you. I can give this, or I am this man. So to me, they kind of bought into it themselves.
They didn't buy into it, they fishing.
They fish it. It's a trap. Chumley, it's a trap. So
Which
Why
it don't,
you
it
on
might
a
be,
fairy tale
but why
app?
they fishing anyway? Hmm?
we're
You
hoes.
have a real person on a cartoon. This ain't Roger Rabbit.
Right. Here's the situation. Here's the situation. Men who propagate non-constructive and non-positive things on social media get dogged out and talked about by other men. Why are women allowing for a false narrative to proliferate social media? Why are they allowing for these clicks and likes and thumbs up and opportunities to exist where a woman is easily lying about her situation? It's not possible for him to be there and take care of you and be this boss dude that's flying all over the world and got he at a banquet in London and this and that. Those are the women who end up with their mama staying with them to help take care of the kids because this dude is never there to help out with anything. And so in the idea of, if you know, you're a knowledgeable woman, you're a worldly woman, if you know that these fairy tales that are being proliferated on TV and in art forms are not good for your daughter, not good for your daughter's friends, why do you not try to shut this down and stop this lunacy that's grown so rampant on social media? Because it's not dudes saying, hey, make sure that you take care of your woman and be there and take the kids to soccer and no dude on social media is putting a whole bunch of ands on his fatherhood or on his husbandry.
Well, I also feel like with this generation, I think now for women, a lot of times women did not talk about a lot of things. And I also feel as though women kept a lot of things to themselves and they suffered in silence. But I think women coming out now on different levels and different platforms saying, look, I don't do this by myself. I got nannies or I'm doing this or these are sacrifices we have to make. Thinking about Michelle and Barack, how they talk about the transparency of their marriage and the things that they went through. Because we looked at them as couple goals, or people did, perfect couple. And I think people start looking at couple goals and they measure their relationship according to these couple goals. For the longest, Will and Jada were couple goals until they weren't. You know what I'm saying? So I feel as though that understanding the transparency of people's relationships and things like that now opens up the conversation where we can tell the younger generation, like, hey, first of all, don't wait around for nobody to pick you. Yes, it's nice to be chosen, whatever, but still live your life. Don't live your life hoping to be somebody's wife. If that doesn't happen, okay. And if that doesn't happen, be able to be self sufficient, be able to do some things on your own or handle some things if it's just you. Let's be honest about the conversations. Every relationship is not healthy. Having good boundaries. This is what it's okay to have disagreements, but how you do it, I think the conversation is opening up now to where the younger generation is able to see and women feel more vulnerable to have this conversation with their daughter.
So have you told your daughter that you and your husband is a better couple goal than Will and Jada, Michelle and Barack?
To be honest with you, I haven't told my daughter that we are couple goals at all. But I do try to take each moment and I do talk to her about relationships to get her thought process of how she thinks about it and how to maybe change her perspective or just even open up her perspective to other ways of thinking about things and then walk away with what she would want for herself. But I don't personally I don't look at other couples as couple goals, but that's just me. I've been with my husband since I was 21, so this dating and being out in the world, that's not my testimony. I can't really relate to that because I've been with my boo for as long as I've been with him for. And so I can relate to somebody who understands growing together, growing from, nothing to something and and understanding how to work things out, the good, the bad, having kids together. I didn't bring kids into a relationship outside of me and him. So I can't that's not my testimony. I guess I did it the traditional way, but then
Mm-hmm.
there was ups and downs in that. I can talk to being, jealous of your spouse because you feel like you had to make a sacrifice for your career because somebody had to take the L to raise. There's different things that I can testify to the point of, feeling lonely but being married or feeling like a single married woman. I can talk about that because of work and things like that. Those are things that I can test to, but as far as when it comes to dating, that wasn't my story. So
So
I don't want to come up here and be,
no, you don't.
a
So
fraud.
when is looking at Barack and Michelle as a couple goal immature? When should you know better than that? When should you know better than to look at social media as a couple goal or as a fairy
I,
tale?
Here's my take on that. I feel like the conversation should kind of start when you begin dating. So there was this conversation for the longest about black families. They would encourage their sons to date and have girlfriends. But when it came to the girls, they were super protective. You better not have no boyfriend, this, that, and the other. So a lot of black women didn't start getting into relationships until they got older. And then when they did that, or leaving their mama's house or dad's house or whatever, when they did that, then they started coming into these different type of relationships they weren't necessarily emotionally prepared for. And so then they end up sticking around longer than they need to, or putting up with stuff they don't have to. So to me, now allowing your teenage daughters to date, but also explaining what dating is like, teaching them standards and what real relationships are, I think that also diminishes that fact of comparing your relationship to other people, because those are the type of conversations you should start having. Plus, these are some boundaries, or these some healthy things of a relationship,
So
but you can't necessarily look at other people.
when is your daughter going to start dating? Do you
Well, my
think?
baby is only 13 right now, so she might have friends or something.
But
But
no,
I,
when
I
she gonna
think,
start dating? You think, or when you think she's gonna start
Same question.
being
Same
interested?
question. Same
heck, I
question.
don't know. I mean, that's a
Oh,
tough question. I would say 16 would be the date.
okay.
It's
16.
like, okay, we're
Okay,
going. And when I
but
say date, that means like you're getting picked up. We're going to meet
Go to the
friends here
movies.
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
whatever. So, but has she seen a Disney movie?
Yeah, she's in
Does
Disney
she does
movies.
she have social media?
Yeah,
So her opinions have already formed. But you saying
Yeah.
they
you're not
have
gonna tell
formed.
her yet about dating until she's
No,
already
yeah.
brainwashed by Disney.
We already having the conversations, because you know why? Because her friends are already dating. So we talk about the relationships that some of her friends have been in, some of the characteristics, and her thoughts and opinions about that. I feel as though when your child is old enough to ask you a question, they're old enough to get an answer, and a true answer. And I think the
So
door is always open to have those conversations whenever they're ready. I'm always sitting here really and ready when she's ready to start communicating. And she's been doing that. So, I would say actually dating is like 16, but at this age that she's in, she's seeing that maybe some kids have more freedom to do some things, but we have conversations about it now. The conversation starts now. I'm not waiting till she's 16 to have a conversation about dating. We're starting these conversations now to hopefully when she hits 16, she's more sure of herself, more clear of her boundaries. It's more in depth then. So I'm not there. There's no pause on it. I think when they start asking, that's when you start having these things, even when they're younger. Just to see an example of what a love is like, and just how you interact. If they're in a home where they see two parents, whether it's co-parents or whatever the situation is, you start setting the tone early. They start saying those things when they're younger.
So what
So let me
Reed,
just
what
say
age do you think?
let, let me say this. There's a stark difference in dating and being in a relationship. And what this woman said just a little while ago was she does not speak with her daughter about their relationship, when in fact dating is so lesser than what needs to be prepared for from a relationship perspective. Because, and I'll say this, your parents, you may have grown up with two parents and they were married in the same home and all this and that, and that may have led you to be one and done when it come to dating one dude and marrying him real quick. I don't want that for my daughters. I don't want them to find that dude early and then be like, dang, we've been married 17 years and I'm 30. You know what I'm saying? Like that's, you know what I'm saying?
It
Uh,
happens the way that it happens. It was
uh,
like a choice, you know what I'm
it was
saying?
a situation
But
where your mom exposed you to a settled, comfortable situation, and you, because of that exposure, because you didn't have social media and all this other stuff, because of that exposure, you was like, that looks attractive. I think that, and you said it yourself, that's traditional. I too want to be traditional. I'm gonna jump the broom at 20. Like when I start drinking, I'm gonna jump a broom. That is amazing to me because you're not old like this. It
no,
was
you still
computers
young.
and stuff.
Well, let me say,
It was
I
internet
wasn't
and
married
emails.
at 21, but that's when I met my husband, and we
Same thing.
dated for 5 years and got to know
Okay.
each other, and we worked on our careers, and then
Okay.
we married, or
I
whatever.
can't
But for
So
my
imagine.
daughter,
wait,
I
so
don't want her to
you
be
didn't talk to
tied
your
down.
friends? You didn't talk to your friends
Huh?
about? Didn't your friends have relationships?
My friends did have relationships. I was the first
Oh,
one to
did you
get married
talk to
out.
them?
Yeah.
Y'all talked every day at school and stuff, like high school. Did people have relationships?
Yes. And the people I went to school with had like them girls was this is what I like
Yeah. So
in
you
high
had
school, them
spoken
girls
again.
was ride or die for
Right.
dating. Huh?
So you had live social media at school.
Yes, I
You
did.
can
I
hear the
did.
highlights of everybody's relationship.
Right.
I had what?
You can hear the highlights and lowlights of everybody's relationship.
Yes, you could. You could.
So
And you could
what's
see the
changed?
possessiveness. Yeah, when you put it like that, there's nothing. I guess social media was us in real time, where
Yes.
now, and it was people that we knew, and now it's people that you don't know. And you also, with people you don't know, you get different level of socioeconomic statuses, different places, and things like that. It kind of broadens that for you. So then you can kind of have, I guess, as y'all using fairy tale, you can have your fairy tale, but you can decide what that fairy tale looks like. Oh, either I want a middle class fairy tale, or I want a high end fairy tale, or just however it looks.
So
You can
wait a
customize
second.
that.
Hold on.
Who
Let me
the hell
have this, please. Can I have this? Can I have
who
this?
dreams about
Can,
middle
can I
class
have
or
this?
even low
Can,
class?
can
Go
I
ahead, man.
have this,
Go ahead.
please? Please,
Go ahead.
please. Let me just
Go
let
ahead,
me
say what
come
you gotta
to it. Let me
say.
come to it. Would it dishearten you if I were to tell you that fairy tale love should not exist? Would that make you upset? Would that make you sad for your daughter, granddaughters, whatever? If I told you that going forward, women should give up on fairy tale love, would that make you sad when you already said there's a bad part of thinking that way? There's a bad part of putting your faith into fairy tales in the first place. But then it seems like you're advocating both sides, and I don't understand. So please help me.
No, I'm not advocating for both sides. But what I'm saying is, I'm explaining why people have fairy tale love, because y'all were asking it first. So I was explaining how people can come,
No, no, no,
or
no.
women,
He
y'all
asked
You
were
the
talking about.
so
question,
you
when
you don't
should they
believe in it
stop?
though. You think it should go away, right? You think it should never
No,
exist.
I don't think fairy tale love should exist, because I don't think you should compare. I think everybody's relationship is different and everybody's story is different. I don't believe in fairy tale love.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you don't think it should
No,
go away?
no, I don't believe in fairy tale love. So I feel like you're setting yourself up for failure
So should it
when
go
you
away?
come into a relationship. I believe so.
Okay, but so if you were exposed to this, because your daughter has seen fairy tales, what age should she stop believing in them? Or
So
should
let's be real. My baby is not watching Cinderella and Bambi. She's watching the new Disney. Okay. So the new Disney don't look like fairy tale love. It looks like, oh, things work out in the end, but it ain't always about love. It's about something else. So I think you guys have to change how you guys are saying this, because we're not in 1999 no more, or 1983.
you
We
you
are
said
in
it's about something
like
else.
2000.
What else is it about?
Well, a lot of times the movies are about, you don't need nobody. Do yourself. Pursue your dream. Um, fight through it. Family. I haven't seen, and my baby hadn't watched a lot of Disney lately, to be honest with you. So let me be honest. I think my daughter watched Love Island, and we
Okay.
were grossed out. So that wasn't no fairy tale. That was just like, who looked the best, who can get somebody, who can kiss the best, and we all kissing each other and stuff like that. But it opened dialogue to get where her thought process is, and that allows to dispel any misguidance, misunderstandings, or confusions about what relationships look like. So
So
I'm not
so
in fairy tale lane.
I have to defend the society,
Yourself?
the people that would listen to this from the Society of Fairy Tale Relationships would be
Hmm.
so disappointed in you, because if we
Why?
look at your resume, you came from a small town, married a husband from your
I ain't told these
hometown.
people all this stuff.
Hold on. I'm giving you you. I'm giving you you. Marry a man of your like,
Hmm.
that you started dating in your at your 21, at your age of becoming 21.
We started dating
Dated
at
him for
21.
5 years,
Hmm.
pursued your education while he pursued his education and careers, and then y'all
Hmm.
decided to get happily married and been doing the damn thing the whole time and had kids out of it and everything. How's that not fairy tale?
But all you did was hit the highlights and the good parts. We didn't even go through the peaks, and we didn't
If
go through
you
the
ask,
valleys of
if
it.
you ask, let me ask you this then. If I ask 10 women if they would
Hmm.
want that story, how many would say yes?
Oh, I really don't know, because what? Okay,
I
so
answered it.
one thing.
10. 10. I
10.
answered.
10 want to get it right the first
Yeah,
time? How
yeah,
many women do you
because
think, like, I don't want to get it right the first time?
Without
I
knowing the
want to get
whole
done.
story, though.
it's
It
immature. You
doesn't matter.
don't know Prince Charming's story. You don't know if
Story.
he was molested.
Exactly.
You don't know Cinderella's whole story. You don't know if she
What you
You
do
dated.
know
don't.
is that Prince Charles was cheating on Lady Di.
Uh, but the real prince was cheating on his wife. So it's just like think. I like to give women the benefit of the doubt when it comes to actually looking at the whole picture. And I think sometimes we just look at women and be like, oh, they just look at the highlight reel, or they just want this. And that's not the case. Like, some women take a step back and look at the whole thing.
But that is the
And
case. That
That
is the
is the whole
highlight reel.
man.
When
That
should
is
you know that that's the highlight reel? I'm sorry, Reed. Go ahead.
yes. That's no, I was gonna say the same thing. If your story ain't the damn fairy tale, what the hell is? If meeting a dude, falling in love early on, getting your lumps out the way while you still got able bodied to do so, and staying with them and enjoying life, until your later years is not the answer. What the fuck is the answer?
well, look, I don't know. Because I'm like, what about you? You date, how old was you when you married your wife?
Yeah,
Okay, so
I
you're
had hold around a
35.
lot. Yeah,
You got it
I
right.
had a
Y'all,
I had a lumpy
came
bumpy
back
road.
around. Are you
Yeah.
not a fairy tale for some people who are at that age range who maybe put their career first, who weren't thinking about relationships, and at this age are like, we're ready to get married, ready to have kids and do this stuff. Are you not a fairy tale?
No, the reason why I wouldn't be is because I was ready to get married the whole time I was hoeing. Like I wasn't good
You
at
got
it.
it right at 35. So you're not 40
I,
in these streets,
I would say
single, looking
he
for
is.
somebody.
I would say he is ideal, but you wouldn't call it a fairy tale. A fairy
Fairy
tale is
tale.
the highlights.
Yeah,
It's
fairy
only
tale
the
is the highlight.
highlights.
It's
I'm
the
saying, when
musical.
would
Is
you
when you
be
singing and yeah,
mature enough,
yeah,
right, to
yeah,
know that
legally.
relationships have ups and downs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. According
They
to the
do.
government, the United States government, you are the fairy tale. If
Yeah,
they
So,
pulled your resume, you've lived in the same resident and jointly filed with a motherfucker for a long time.
y'all
That is
got to
the
pull
fairy
the book
tale.
out and show this to me, 'cause I need to see where the fairy tale at for that. I think
You
if
are
people ask
disrespecting the
me,
fairy tale. You are
they may
disrespecting
think
the hell
that,
out of the
but I
fairy tale.
think once they sit down and have a conversation and actually hear the whole story, then they realize that maybe it wasn't a fairy tale. There
You
was
are
a
why is it
disrespect.
not?
reality.
No,
Tell me why it's not a
why?
fairy
Are
tale.
you kidding me? You're winning and you're making it seem. This is what I'm saying. You're creating a victimization that does not exist.
Tell me
You're
why
trying to
your life is
downplay
not
what
a
every
fairy
woman
tale.
wants. Every woman wants the ring. Every woman wants the courting. Every woman wants the wedding. You got the kids. You got all the dog.
You
You
got
got
one of
all
each.
of
Yeah.
this. Man,
So
yes. What are we talking
Don't get me wrong, I'm
about?
thankful. I'm
no, no,
thankful for
no.
that.
Tell
But
us why
again, I'm not a woman who
it's not.
believes in fairy tale because I'm raising a daughter and I want her to be I'm raising a daughter and a son, and I want them to be very clear about what they're getting to, very realistic about the relationships
Why
that
don't
they're in.
why don't you just define
Madam,
fairy tale?
I've heard white people say they don't believe in racism. And that's what this sounds like.
Oh my gosh.
That's what it sounds
Can
like.
you please tell us why it's not a fairy tale?
Well, I don't believe any relationship is a fairy tale.
What?
I
Let
don't.
it go.
I do
Let it
believe that
go.
people have been successful at
She don't
relationships and
believe in
they have that,
racism.
but
She
I
don't believe in
don't
racism.
think that every relationship is a fairy tale with one punch to you or whatever. So let me ask you this: you single, right? What's why haven't you achieved a fairy tale?
Why haven't I achieved one?
Uh-huh.
Fairy tale ends in happiness, right? It's a happy end.
Right. Well, is it? Are we talking about a Disney fairy tale? Or are we just
If it
talking
don't
about
any fairy tale, if it doesn't end in a happy ending, that's a horror movie. That's a different
okay?
story.
Tragedy. It's the
Okay,
setup.
so we've been talking about fairy tales for women, and we also understand. I think when you become mature or the conversations start being had, that fairy tales are really only the high moments in a relationship. But understanding there's peaks and there's valleys as well. So why aren't you like what is it about you that you ain't got to your fairy tale? Because it may not always be happy this moment, but it could be happy this next moment. Are you expecting for it to be to you as fairy tales?
I like that.
Happy
I like
ending
that question.
all the time.
I like that question. Yeah. I like that question because I agree with the premise that if you're consistently skipping and whistling, then that's it's not a fairy tale. There's something wrong over there. So I don't want to wait until it ends. I don't want to be married to somebody for 27 years and then the last like Al Gore. Al Gore was married to his wife for 40 something years and then they got divorced. That doesn't mean that it wasn't fairy tale because it
Mhm.
didn't end on a high note. So I don't want to subscribe to that. That would be saddening.
I do have relationships where if I wrote the beginning till a certain point in the relationship, then you can sell that as a fairy tale.
Mhm.
But
Mhm. Why
that's
wasn't
not
it a fairy tale for you?
that it was a portion of it that could be. I
It
understand
went
that a fairy tale is not the whole bio.
right.
I understand that a fairy tale is a section just to show a part of it. If you want to know everything about a relationship, you want to get to the dirt and everything, then that's a different type of story. And that's what you
And
should
I
look
agree with you.
that's what you should look at in relationship versus trying to just chase a fairy tale. You can't chase highlights.
Exactly. And that's what I agree with you on. That's why I don't believe in fairy tales because I think when it comes to relationships, you have to read the entire book.
But so yours is a fairy tale because you have a highlight reel that you can show people,
It's
right?
absolutely. There's a level of
If that's
consistency.
the case, then I guess yours are fairy tales that just didn't work out, and we can just look at the high moments of it.
It worked out for when it did. So yeah, I
See,
didn't.
Okay.
the reason why I reject the null hypothesis is because you have a daughter. Do you believe that your daughter can have a fairy tale wedding?
I think my daughter can have a healthy relationship.
And she have a fairy tale wedding?
I don't believe in fairy tales.
You don't believe in highlights?
I believe in highlights. I believe in good
That's
moments.
what a fairy tale is. I thought we said
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, she could have a fairy tale wedding.
she can have a
Okay.
wedding that she would highlight.
Yeah, I would say that.
So what I would do if so me knowing a little bit, I would use you as the example of don't always sit around and wait for the other shoe to drop because I think that's where women do other women the disservice. I had my spouse has a friend that when we was dating, I was long distance, and she
Uh,
would tell her openly, "You know, he probably doing his own thing down there." You know, it was too good to have a good guy that was into you and coming to see you and da 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 because she didn't believe in that as a construct. And I believe women do that more to each other than not in not believing in the dream or believing in the fairy tale. So women often disrupt the women tell the other women there is no Santa Claus. Women tell the other women there is no tooth fairy. Women don't allow for the magic of romance and the magic of courtship because they've been hurt and they want to see you on the same level as them. And so even when a woman gets my wife had friends that would get upset because they couldn't go to the movies with her at the same pace because she now had a relationship. Like women fall out over dudes getting into relationships with women because now these women don't have enough time to be with them. Like this is the silliest. And so
that's
I
a different age range. That's a different generation. Because my generation, we're not like that no more.
No, your generation too. Moms do that to their daughters.
yes, exactly.
You can't come over here more. Like it's some outer hating that
Absolutely.
go on.
It's more
I
mom
can
best
see it. I
friends in
see it.
this generation than there ever was.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
more women that's in your generation that dress like they not and shop at Forever 21. It's an
It's
epidemic
Fashion Nova,
proportion.
thank you.
Okay, whatever. Sheen. It's a lot of Sheen hoes. That's
Sheen
age
hoes.
inappropriate. Yeah. It's just crazy. But so to put a pin in it, I believe that I've always believed this, and you've heard this if you listened to me say anything before. I believe that you are allowed to openly dream and wish for as much as you want until you are 25 years old, and then you have to start to forecast. Meaning you have to use science and data and real information to say this is not going to happen, this is going to happen. If you have children, subtract 5 years from whatever I said.
So
Subtract 5 years
do you
because
think there's like a automatic switch, like, oh, when you hit 20, you got kids. All right, you start thinking realistic, or you hit 25, you start thinking
yes,
realistic. But if they've
yes.
been programmed to think a certain way, don't it take a little time to dispel those rumors? Because on top of date, okay, let's say somebody who ain't got no kids, they go to 25 with this, dreamer's mindset and they've dated along the way. So because they've had this standard of a fairy tale and maybe it doesn't work out like that, then it's created baggage. So now they got to process through all of that type of stuff. So does that add on more time to kind of come to a realistic thought process to start
I don't,
entering really the dating world and being
I,
realistic with that?
I don't
You
think
don't
so
get no
because I believe the
girth.
data.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think so. Right. The data is agnostic. The thing that would offend you or any other woman the most is if I asked you to sit and write down why you deserved what you're provided by your husband. If I
Mm.
say I need you to give me a deserving document to tell me why you, above any other woman, deserves this treatment, deserves this respect, deserves this being paid, deserves this vacation, deserves because when you start to realize it and as you're writing it out, he could theoretically be getting that somewhere else. Like,
That's
wi-
true.
wi-
That's
and
true.
it's more women on social media that are talking about being single and empowered and miserable than there are men talking about being single and empowered and miserable. Women are making it fashionably acceptable to be single moms and single women and unmarried and unfaithful and playing the
Mhm.
field and going on girls trips and all. They are making it seem cool when it shouldn't. And so I believe that they are getting to an age where they shot, they thought they was gonna be a trophy wife. They didn't do anything to prepare themselves. They didn't do like you and went to school. Or you introduced me to a term. Can you share that with the audience of women that went to the school?
What term was it? Because I
It was
sure forgot.
getting a degree in MRS.
Oh, the MRS degree. Well, that was mostly for the pale.
It happened. Yeah, for the other hue. But
They
but
go
it
to
but
college to get that MRS degree, would basically find them a husband.
so so with that being the playbook for so long, I believe that peer pressure and peers teach you more about real life than books and your parents and your priest ever could. And I believe that until we get a hold of these women misguiding women, and I'm not just talking about young girls, because young girls will do it out of ignorance. But when you get to a certain age, when you get to that 25, that 27, that 31, you just supporting this woman giving up after he said a cuss word, or you supporting that he's not thinking about you, he's not willing to stay home with the kids and let you cook, and
Uh-huh.
you got a degree in handwriting and he got a degree in astrophysics. You're like, it's your turn to shine. No, you
Uh-huh.
got a degree in handwriting. What is we doing?
Well, look,
So
I understand where you're coming from, but so then my question is, what about the guys who are quick to their fairy tale is to have somebody like their mama, their grandmama, and they don't see the flaws, or they don't see that there was highs and lows. They just see how she took care of them. And so
Mhm.
they have a fantasy of what they want from a relationship from a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, speak to them as well.
I agree
Well,
with you.
I know women always do say, "What about the dudes?" Every time
Yeah,
we
yeah,
notice the deflection. So
right.
just say,
We're just gonna keep it equal, just saying.
I'm gonna just go on a limb and say 12. We asked you a few times, you wouldn't give us an age, but I'm gonna say 12. 12
Mhm.
is the age where you need to stop believing in people's highlights.
That's
You
correct.
need
Mhm.
to learn that there's lows and highs in everything, sports, school, even in my life.
Mhm.
After it's over, then I can tell people the fairy tales as I'm
Mhm.
declining on the way out. But while I'm
Mhm.
living it and benefiting from life, don't look at my highlights. If you want to come talk to me and see how I did it, I have a responsibility of telling people the highs and lows, and they have a responsibility of asking. But 12 is too old to be looking at somebody's highlights. Celebrities, parents, mama, like you said, or
Mhm.
anybody thinking that that's what it is.
I
Well, if
think the
12 is the
danger.
cutoff, why do grown men still keep having that fantasy when they become grown of want comparing women or their relationship to maybe a woman that they revere in their lifetime? There's got to be, it may not be mama, it might be one
I
woman
agree.
that you
I
feel
agree.
like that's the
I agree.
standard. And so if 12 is the cutoff, why are y'all taking that to life? Or
No,
maybe not
no,
y'all, just
Th-
so,
th-
men.
So
but
so
we
this
didn't
this
say people weren't immature. I'm saying
but
after
here's the
12 and you
deal.
still believe in that, you're immature. So go
Here's
ahead.
the
No,
deal,
I get what
y'all.
you're saying. I get what
I,
you're
I
saying with
I
the
think that
immaturity.
y'all diminishing the ability to be aspirational. Y'all diminishing the ability to have dreams and hopes. And if I wanted Claire Huxtable, then I have the right to work my ass off and put myself in a position to find a woman on match.com that looks and acts that's a lawyer, and we could live in a duplex like they did, a brick duplex, and have 5 kids in that mug. I don't know how all 5 of them bedrooms was upstairs,
But
but we
are
could.
you willing to have your gynecology business in the basement?
There it is. If you're willing to do the things that need to be done and happen to find someone that's
Mhm.
willing to also have a similar dream, have at it. The problem is you
After
have
12,
people that
I disagree. Go ahead. Go ahead.
the problem is that you run into people who say that they on the same page and have the same dream and the same goals. And we've all been in relationships where, well, maybe not you. I'm sorry, miss, because you've been in this relationship since you was 6.
Whatever.
But you get into a relationship where you realize there's a divergence of what did she hear and what did I say? Because this is not where I thought we was headed. I don't want all white furniture. Like, this doesn't even make sense. We never
Right.
talked about 5 kids. We never talked about, whatever the case. Your parents living next door. You know,
Yeah.
we're gonna get some land and build 5 houses for me, my sister, and my. No, we not. We never. So the idea of being able to articulate what you see as pleasurable to you and be able to compromise as what's pleasurable to the union is the key to serenity in a relationship. But the fairy tale aspect of it only exists if you're applying something that seems magical and unsustainable and written by a TV network.
Well, I'm
That's
gonna
the
say
problem.
this too, because
Okay.
I have some friends who got married older or whatever, or know people that got married older. And it seems like the biggest thing for them has been, and I don't give marriage advice again because I've been with, my boo thing for a minute. But I just feel as though
But
there's no vulnerability and there's no compromise. Everybody wants it their way and everybody else wants to compromise. There's no being completely all in, vulnerable, and just saying, look, I'm gonna compromise on this. Let's have conversations about this. I'm willing to give up this to give and take. Everybody want to be a boss in a
Yeah.
relationship, and
Yeah.
everybody has these demands, but nobody's willing to find out the love language of their partner. Find out the things that make it work. What are some things that I can compromise on? And I think that also prevents from, as you guys say, a fairy tale. That prevents from having a little bit more highlights or sustainability to have those pillars strengthen up those highlights. Because I feel like when you have highlights, I think of them as pillars. The long part, there was something that went through that to get you to that point of a high that you had to go through and understand so that you can keep moving forward. And then, pillars go down and up or whatever, but I just
What
understand what I
I'll
need to
say
say.
is
but
what I'll say to
you're
that,
not willing
and
to
then we
tell it.
could
Go ahead.
yeah, but what I'll say to that is when you've been in love more than 1 or 2 times, you tend to become when you get burned, you tend to become jumpy at everything that looks like fire. so in the idea of compromise and I'll let you light up the grill in front of me, I've been burned to the 3rd degree by these other women or by this other woman. And so therefore I'm more sensitive to
Right.
fire at this point. You've had a
Cautious.
slow you a smoker. You've been on low and slow
Slow
since
burn.
21 and those smokers don't flare up. Grills
Yeah.
do. And I've
Well,
been put through the grill.
Erica Badu say bag a lady. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta get them bags,
You're gonna miss your
bag
bus.
lady and men. You
Yeah.
gotta, and then that's another thing I
Go
also
to
don't
man.
understand. I think people miss out on relationships too because they want somebody, the new person, to answer for
Yes,
all of
ma'am.
men's creation. And
Yes, ma'am.
also, why did this person treat me the way this person did? And I need you to explain because I didn't get closure. I don't understand. So now you're the spokesperson for this species. And it's like
Yeah.
everybody's had a different experience. You can't
But you
expect that.
you you have experience and telling me that you refusing to give marital advice. Why?
So if people ask me, I always leave it this right here. Look, I've been with my man since I was 21, and we've
If I
had to learn.
let
But I
me
know what it's like to. I don't know what it's like to come with having my own house or him having his own house, and we're having to compromise that. I don't ever want to give something for something I don't have
but you know
experience
the
about.
principles. You know the principles that you had to compromise, right? That you had to
Yes,
work
but I
with.
also know that I'm a different level of delusional and crazy. So, that may not always be what people, I'm not the most practical person.
But they might be also delusional and crazy and need to hear it
They
from a
may be too.
delusional
Right.
and
Give them a
crazy
chance.
person.
Right. Give them a chance.
Well, if
Right.
people ask, I do now, I don't just go around like, no. If people ask, I tell them, but I also leave with, look, I haven't been to dating game. I don't know what it's like to go on,
Get in the
websites
dating
and,
game.
and meet each other and stuff like that. I did old school. We got each other. We was doing map quests to see each other. You know what I'm saying?
The game hasn't changed, though.
I look at your relationship and I highlight your relationship as the equivalent to working at a Fortune 500 company for 30 years. There's nothing wrong with giving corporate advice just because you've only worked at one big company most of your life. Like, that's okay. That's the dream. The dream is the stability. The dream is the consistency. The dream is the
Compromise.
understanding of
Yeah.
what it takes. Absolutely. And so if that can be taught, if that can be disseminated, and somebody could hear that, even if they're late to the bus, even if this is not their first big company, they can say, hey, at least I can follow this blueprint to retire from here because she was able to navigate the waters of this corporation and build a retirement strategy. And I, too, want to look like that in the end, as he said.
What y'all say? I guess for me, and if I'm being 100% honest, I don't always wonder if I'm relatable or if I'm transparent, but I don't know if it's relatable to what people are going through in the new dating world. And so I always use caution when it comes to that. So just kind
I
of
don't
be like,
think it
I can't
changed.
really relate to your experience, but
The
I just
the
pull
two
back.
are the same. The working together, the finding out love language, all that stuff is the same. Still need to do that. They're just more reluctant to do it because they think that if you keep getting burned, you can be the person to say, "Hey, quit wearing flammable shirts."
Right.
That's true. That's
Right.
true.
Don't have a
That's
Jerry
true.
curl.
That's
Right.
true. That's true. Or, this is one thing I've seen that when people dating, I don't think well, I don't know, I could be wrong. It doesn't seem a lot that this happens. Is that if people are into each other and it doesn't work out, I think seeing people automatically move to the next person. I never see it to be like, let me take a pause. Let me process what happened. Let me see if I did something or was it just truly the other person or whatever. It's immediately, oh, I got a roster. You ain't working out. Let me go to you. Let me go to you. Let me go to you. And then it's like you just always filling a gap instead of like taking a pause, sit with yourself for a second. It ain't gotta be long, but just kind of process, okay, let me think of what I did or what I didn't do or what this person did or didn't
Watch the
do,
tape.
and let me see how I can move forward instead of being like, this helper was like this, I'm going to the oh, you like that too? It triggered this from this and the other. I'm going to this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
what's up with that?
that's good advice to give people. Why
I
not?
agree.
Why not offensively give them that? You don't have to just wait till they ask.
Oh, okay. So, well, I'll give my final point.
Okay.
I do believe that women more than men align with the term fairy tale and have expectations of fairy tale to be judged by others. And that is the dangerous part of when you have a fairy tale, if it's crafted and understood and appreciated by you and your partner, you can call it whatever you want to. You can call it ducktales, fairy tales, heads and tails. Nobody cares. It's when
Uh,
you get into a situation where you are looking for thumbs, likes up, likes and thumbs up, excuse me, and your mom and your sister and all these other people to this is why when they get the ring and they get, girl, let me see the ring, and they put their hand out for you to judge their ring. Did he spend 2 months worth of salary? All these other things. It gets to the point where women are allowing other women to infect them with what should be their perspective on love. And that's why it's easy for them to harshly judge brothers and say, oh, I'm not putting up with this. If you lose this job, when you say I need somebody tall, dark, and handsome and employed, you're telling me if I, hurt my back and have to walk with a cane, or if I become unemployed, or if I get vitiligo, then we gonna have some problems because you already gave me your menu of options. And when I no longer fit that menu of options because of life or because of circumstances, I don't have a confidence that you're able to pivot with me because you've become so vocal about this is what your standards are and this is what you demand from love. And then when I question, why do you have the authority to demand those things? How dare I? How dare I? We had an episode a couple years ago where I asked the female co-host a question and she said, because I'm a girl. And I thought she was going to say something after that, but she was done. I'm like, oh, that's it. But she believed that with all her heart. And who am I to tell her that's less or that shouldn't be a qualification? But the reality of it is, I just think that we have to get to the point where we are better at letting people know that what is classically seen as fairy tales is not the best way to navigate your love life. And like he said, when you get in your adolescent age range and you get into your teens, you have to become more understanding of what's the difference between dating and a relationship. And that's the point I have.
I see
I'll
how
go.
you circled that, Brian, but I'm going to say this.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to come with my closure.
I'll close
Okay,
after.
cool. Give us your point.
So
Give us your hollow point.
I, it ain't gonna be as drawn out,
No,
but
not
I
even.
do feel as though when it comes when it comes to fairy tale, I think women do want they want the validation of the relationship. And I think men want the validation of the manhood when it comes to sometimes these new relationships when you think about it like that. And I think you should just be in your relationship, be all in, and forget what everybody else thinks. Kill the noise. What works best for you, and does it fit your needs? What are you looking for? And also, don't ask nothing of nobody that you ain't willing to give yourself. My mama always
Mm,
told me that,
mm.
when it comes to relationships. So you just have to be very real with that and transparent in what that looks like. But I also think the conversations also have to be had about, what do you think a fairy tale is, or what do you look as when you see relationships? Are you really describing somebody else's relationship and you're hoping that for yourself? Are you really talking about what you want? Be in tune to who you are, the things that you need, and the things that you want, so that you can express that and communicate that effectively to your partner. And then also, when somebody tells you they can give you something that they can't, receive that, and also know if you're wasting your time or if you need to walk away. But also know the parts that you play in it as well. Is
That's
is
it.
is is what I think with it. But I think I think healthy relationships are very beautiful too. So call it what you want, but that's my hollow take on it.
Yeah, that's so. My final thought is just don't mistake a relationship for being perfect. So, fairy tale may show perfection, but that's never what a relationship is. It's not perfect. I don't think the tenets of a relationship and what makes them successful has changed, but it's our willingness to feed those has changed a little bit and diminished. And I will bounce off your point a little bit. Not really don't expect someone to do something that you are not doing, but don't expect a level of effort that you're not putting in, is what I would say. Because y'all are probably going to do different things for each other, but that level of effort should be there in the relationship. And if the levels of efforts are up there, I think that is an ideal relationship. And then when that ends and you start telling grandkids, that becomes the fairy tale.
I think that's super dope.
This concludes another episode of the Hollow Points Podcast, where we act as your therapeutic outlet on topics many think about but are afraid to speak on.
Oh, you're welcome.